Welcome everyone. Is my sound okay? All right, wonderful. So my name is Janka and I will be leading today. Our topic will be Kalama Sutta, and we have Tanisara here with us to start the chanting practice and do the chanting practice. Many of you know that I'm still not comfortable chanting aloud. So last time we played the recording. So today Tanisara will chant with us and then she's gonna leave and I'll take over the meeting. So let's begin.
Thank you, Janka. Greetings, friends. So beginning at the top of this Namo Tassa here, top of page 3. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Then on page 4. Itipiso bhagava arahan samma sambuddho vijajarana sambano sugado loka duanutaro parisadhamma saratesa Tadevam manusanam buddho bhagavati soagato bhagavata dhammo sandedeko akaliko hepaseko hobanayiko pa Chada vedeta boit yuhite subhadipano bhagavadosa kasango chubhadipano bhagavato sawakasango nyaya padipano bhagavadosa Kasango samije padepano bhagavat savakasango yare ranjatare burisa yukani yatapurisa pogala he sambhagavato savakasango Ahanayo Bahanayo Takineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttaram Punya Kedanglo Kasati. In the highest blessings. Thus have I heard that the Blessed One was staying at Savatthi, residing at the Jeta's Grove in Anantapindika's park. Then in the dark of the night a radiant Deva illuminated all Jeta's Grove. She bowed down low before the Blessed One. Then standing to one side, she said, Devas are concerned for happiness and ever long for peace. The same is true for humankind. What then are the highest blessings? Avoiding those of foolish ways, associating with the wise, and honoring those worthy of honor. These are the highest blessings. Living in places of suitable kinds, with the fruits of past good deeds, and guided by the rightful way. These are the highest blessings. Accomplished in learning and craftsman's skills, with discipline highly trained, and speech that is true and pleasant to hear. These are the highest blessings. Providing for mother and father support, and cherishing family, and ways of work that harm no being. These are the highest blessings. Giving with Dhamma in the heart, offering help to relatives and kin, and acting in ways that leave no blame. These are the highest blessings. Steadfast in restraint and shunning evil ways, avoiding intoxicants that dull the mind, and mindfulness in all things that arise. These are the highest blessings. Respectfulness and of humble ways, contentment and gratitude, and hearing the Dhamma frequently taught. These are the highest blessings. Patience and willingness to accept one's faults, seeing venerators seekers of the truth, and sharing often the words of Dhamma. These are the highest blessings. The holy life lived with ardent effort, seeing for oneself the noble truths, and the realization of Nibbana. These are the highest blessings. Although involved in worldly ways, unshaken the mind remains, and beyond all sorrow spotless secure. These are the highest blessings. They who live by following this path know victory wherever they go, and every place for them is safe. These are the highest blessings. In the Brahma-vihara, reflection on the great radiances of the unobstructed heart to be cultivated every day. Now let us make the four boundless qualities shine forth. I will abide pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with compassion, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with compassion, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4 with a heart imbued with gladness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with gladness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4 with a heart imbued with equanimity. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will.
Receiving the fruits of the chanting practice. Continuing with the awareness of the body sitting, breathing this breath right here, this inhale, this exhale, receiving. So I will keep the instruction to minimum, but I will be using two words. One is remembering, which means remembering our attention and how is it engaged. And then returning, which means that in that moment of returning, our attention and intention merges in cultivation. So we will be remembering our attention and intention. We will be remembering that our body is sitting or whatever posture you are in, and it's breathing, receiving the breath energy right here, now. So keeping it simple, remembering and returning. Remembering and returning to the awareness, this breathing body, living, breathing body right here. Is it possible to be simply aware and know our experience as it's unfolding without creating a stories about it? Is the body breathing? How do you know it's breathing? Can it be known from a direct experience as opposed a thought or a concept what breathing body is? Just this breath. remembering and returning. What is being known right now? What is predominant in your awareness? And you note it without judgment. If it's thinking, fine. Bodily sensation, fine. And what's being known now? Sound of my voice, hearing, returning, remembering and returning. The awareness of the body, breathing. So welcome everyone. Were you able to hear my bell? No. Okay, all right. Well, I'll work on that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. My name is Janka Livoncova. I am currently living in Tennessee, a beautiful place called Signal Mountain, and I am originally from Czechoslovakia when it was still one country. So I am new to this Sangha. This is my second time leading. So if it's possible for you to turn on your camera to say hello, that would be wonderful. If that's not possible, I understand. It's 12:30 here in Tennessee. I don't know where you are, but if you can, to say hello, and if you can keep it on for as long as you can, that's wonderful. Because I would like to get to know you. I will be on schedule once a month. So you may have noticed that I asked a lot of questions while we were sitting. I'm waving because some people are waving at me, so hello again. So while we were sitting, I asked questions, and it's not usually how the instructions are offered, but today our topic is related to being able to ask questions, being able to hold the questions, being able to live with I don't know mind, and realizing when the question is not just right, not applicable, to be flexible enough to change it, and so on. So the reason why I chose this topic, I keep coming back to this topic over and over again, partially because of my conditioning. As I mentioned, I grew up in Czechoslovakia during communism. So I learned, I was taught that there is outer authority, and we were asked all to believe everything we've been told. So I still say it, that I'm healing from this indoctrination that I received. And we will definitely not encourage to ask questions. I was one of those students that would always, ask questions, and the teachers were so annoyed, which here I hear it's rewarded. And the second thing I learned from my father was to really rely on the inner authority. And there is something to be said about being curious and wanting to know, which was that was part of his conditioning. But part of it was that knowing meant that one is safe, one is in control. So there was this craving, this fearful motivation behind my father's wanting to know, and that's what I got. You have to know. If you don't know, you are not safe. So I hope you are hearing this conditioning I received. And so I was pretty young. I was asking myself questions, primary two questions. How do I live? Because I didn't believe any of it. And the second was, what do I do with this pain? Dukkha. And after we have what's called Velvet Revolution in 89, mystics came, monastics came to Slovakia and offered so many different teachings. And, I was young, so I would go to all of them. And I remember I went to this day-long meditation workshop that was offered by a monk, and my questions were answered, or at least they were honored and they were asked. So that is why this sutta, Kalama Sutta, is so important. So I will be reading some of it, and then we will be reflecting, and then we will put it into practice. Like, how do we practice? How do we live with this? So Buddha and his monks, his assembly, they are traveling around and they come to Kesaputta, a town of the Kalamas. And Kalamas hear, oh, Buddha is here. They've heard of him. They heard that he's skillful. They heard that he's wise. They heard that he's awakened. So they go to him to ask their questions. And so I will read from the sutta. This one is translated by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. So if you know different translations, some words may be different. So this is what they ask. Lord, there are some Brahmas and contemplatives who come to Kesaputta. They expound and glorify their own doctrines. But as for the doctrines of others, they deprecate them, revile them, show contempt for them, disparage them. And there are other Brahmas and contemplatives that come to Kesaputta. They expound and glorify their own doctrines, but as for the doctrines of others, and it continues. And then they are asking these important questions. Which ones are speaking the truth and which ones are lying? This is what they ask the Buddha, right? So I'm hoping as you are reading it, this is not only about our spiritual teachers. This can be applied to anyone, right? And here is Buddha answering. Of course you are uncertain, Kalamas. So he said, yeah, of course you are uncertain. And then he says, of course you are in doubt. When there are reasons for doubt, uncertainty is born. I just love it. So he said, yeah, of course. And then he goes, so in this case, Kalamas, don't go by reports, by legends. This would be also rumors, right? What people say about someone. By traditions, by scripture or by books, by logical conjecture, by inference, by analogies, by agreement through pondering views, by probability, or by the thought, this contemplative is our teacher. So I'll read this again. Please contemplate. He's saying primary, all the ways we rely on and how we assess what's real or what's true for us. He is pretty much saying, don't do that. That's not reliable. So I read it again. So by reports, by legends, by traditions, by scripture, which would include books, right? What we read, by logical conjecture, by inference, by analogies, by agreement through pondering views, by probability, or by the thought, this contemplative is our teacher. And now he follows. When you know for yourself, such an important statement to me. When you know for yourself, these qualities are unskillful, these qualities are blameworthy, these qualities are criticized by the wise, these qualities, when adopted and carried out, means acting upon them, lead to harm and to suffering, then you should abandon them. And then he questions them. I'm not going to go through all the questions. I give example and I read one more paragraph and then I speak more about this. So he asked them, what do you think, Kalamas, when greed arises in person, does it arise for welfare or for harm? And they answer, for harm. And then he asked the same question about aversion, about delusion. And then he is a little bit more specific. And this greedy person, overcome by greed, his mind possessed by greed, kills living beings, takes what is not given, goes after another person's wife, tells lies, and induces others to do likewise, all of which is for long-term harm and suffering. And they say yes. So he goes and questions them through all unskillful qualities. And then he asks the same questions about four Brahma Viharas, right? So he says, if loving kindness is in the mind, or compassion, or joy, or equanimity, and one acts upon that, will that bring harm? And of course they say no, and so on. So the way this can be put in practice, the way I practice with this. So let's say I am about to make a decision that will require me to act, either write an email, say yes to a project. We are asked to contemplate before we act. Is this for my benefit? Will this lead to harm? Is this skillful? Is this unskillful? So if the answer is yes, this is for my benefit, yes, this is skillful, I proceed. But why, while I am acting it or I am involved in a project, I keep asking my that question because sometimes unexpected outcomes may appear. Does that make sense? Right? You didn't see them come. They couldn't be foreseen. Here they are. So that question remains in the mind. Is this still for my benefit? What is motivating this? Is it still kindness? Is it generosity? If the answer is yes, I continue, right? If the answer is no, then one can consider, okay, this means I need to stop, something needs to change, right? This, of course, depends on the circumstances. I do not have to continue in this. We are also asked to continue contemplating. So let's say the action or the project is over. We are also asked to continue, or it's recommended that we continue contemplating, okay, now when the action is over, the project is over, can I see what is the short and long-term effect? Is it still for benefit of every living being, benefit of mine? Is it still skillful? Right? And let's say that the project is finished, the action is finished, and I realize, oops, that was not skillful. It's unexpected, couldn't see it, or I wasn't aware what was in the mind, even though I was checking. So then my practice is to simply acknowledge, well, oops, right? I can learn from this. I can resolve to not to do this again. And sometimes when there is confusion, I reach out to my teachers and I ask, can you help me with this? Right? Buddha recommends that we also, if we are unsure, we ask all these questions, and we are unsure, that we go to a wise person with integrity. And I'll speak about that more. So sometimes what I'm learning, I cannot tell ahead. Like I made so many mistakes because of me seeking authority outside of myself. I also made mistakes in choosing teacher. And I've learned. I have learned. And because I was willing to admit the mistake, and willing to learn, hopefully that won't happen again. But how do we get to know a person, right? So when you put all of this to test, right, you observe the person. Okay, do they have moral integrity? Do they follow 5 precepts? When I approach this teacher or this person and I ask, what is skillful? What is unskillful? And when I contemplate that answer, does it sound right to me? So here is an example. I was on Facebook. This is how I communicate with my family, my friends in Slovakia. My mom is she cannot do Zoom. So we have to do Facebook and all of it. And you are probably familiar during Olympics, there was this story about a wrestler that competed as a female wrestler. And there was confusion about this person was born female, is female, and then was the other side saying no. And there was this whole back and forth on my friends on Facebook, and unskillful language, attacking each other. And so I was reading that, getting familiar. I went to look at news, look at the story, and I was contemplating, okay, what is skillful here? Who do I put my trust in, right? One side saying all this, there are articles saying this, and then there are articles and views they are saying complete opposite. And so what occurred as I was contemplating, how about we ask the question, like, what is the quote unquote right question? Like, what would be helpful question to ask? And what eventually came, oh, what would be most helpful, skillful, least harmful for the community, which I'm not necessarily part of, right? In the larger I am as a human, but not a female wrestler. So how about if the members of community come together and make a decision based on what's least harmful, right? So I realized I was asking myself a wrong question or unhelpful question, right? Which was, what is true? And just looking at it from Dhamma perspective helped me step out of this duality, right or wrong, and ask the question that leads to contemplation, right? The question wasn't what's right or wrong, but what is most skillful and least harming? So I hope this is helpful. I hope it's landing in a way that you can relate and you can use it in practice. Another thing that happens as we put this in a practice, where we start relying on our direct experience, and instead of looking what's right, what's wrong, I'm simplifying this now, we begin to look what's skillful, what's motivating this. Is greed, hatred, delusion motivating this? Or generosity? Oh, kindness, compassion. This is when we are observing our politicians, when we are observing our other leaders, my parents, right? Oh, what's motivating this? And when I'm contemplating my action, it's always in terms of cause and effect, right? And it is repeated practice. That's how at least I'm learning that I put this in test over and over and over again, because it's taking a long time to get to know this mind and heart. And of course, it takes a long time to get to know others people's hearts and minds. So instead of who do I put the trust in, it's what do I put my trust in? What qualities do I trust? Right? So it shifts. Not who, but what. Oh, for me, I trust people that have moral integrity. Yes, we are all in process of cultivating our ethical integrity through the practice of 5 precepts. But that I trust. Makes me relax, makes me feel safe. But that is also what I trust in myself. That is what I have confidence in. Oh, that. I also find trustworthy when I'm aware of my motivation. I know what's motivating my action, speech, or particular pattern of thinking. I also trust people who are interested in knowing, investigating, okay, what's motivating this action, right? That's what Buddha is asking here. When greed is in the mind, will it lead to harm? When kindness is in the mind, will it lead to harm or well-being, right? Or lessening of harm? I would like to, I'm looking at the time, I would like to address one more thing, and that is not knowing. With all these guidelines, which I go back to, I find another thing being very helpful, and that is being able to live with questions, being able to live with the mind that don't know, that doesn't know, like we call it don't know mind. I was listening to a Dharma talk. One of our senior teachers in our tradition was asked this question. You may know that some of the great art, including Mona Lisa, was harmed by activists. And they were asking him, what do you think? Right? These were people who, the damage was not permanent. All this art, it's fine. They were able to fix it. It's still preserved for next generation, so on. So when they asked this teacher, what do you think? The answer was, I don't know. And he offered community to contemplate. And what it turned out to be, that I can see the desperation of these activists, like we want our voice to be heard, that led to this extreme action, right? And yet the damage could be. I personally don't value so much art. It's not my thing, right? But I can see the people who value it, how painful that was to them, right? So it was, I don't know. And the question they were asking, was this right? Was it wrong? I don't know, right? So I was contemplating that, okay, I don't know. Well, for one, I don't know these people. I don't know their motivation. I hardly know my motivation, right? So how can we start looking at what's occurring outside in the world and inside mind, heart, body? That comes from this deep, deep inquiry. What's wholesome? What's skillful? I was thinking, like, what is the most important question for me right now? Like, if somebody asked me, what is the most important question that you live with right now? And it's still, what is skillful? What is wholesome? Right? So I would like to share with you this reading. And it's partially because this can become so heady Yet this practice is so embodied, intuitive, heartful. And this is from just gorgeous book, Letters to a Young Poet by Wilka. It's a little lengthy because I just could not pick apart. You will be familiar with some quotes, but the entire letter was just incredible. So this is Wilka writing to a young poet. In the great silence of these distances, I am touched by your beautiful anxiety about life, even more than I was in Paris, where everything echoes and fades away differently because of the excessive noise that makes things tremble. Here, where I am surrounded by an enormous landscape, which the winds move across as they come from the seas. Here I feel that there is no one anywhere who can answer for you those questions and feelings, which in their depth have a life of their own. For even the most articulate people are unable to help, since what words point to is so very delicate, is almost unsayable. But even so, I think that you will not have to remain without a solution if you trust in things, capital T. If you trust in things that are like the ones my eyes are now resting upon, if you trust in nature, in the small things that hardly anyone sees, and that can so suddenly become huge, immeasurable. If you have this love for what is humble, and try very simply as someone who serves to win the confidence of what seems poor, then everything will become easier for you, more coherent, and somehow more reconciling. Not in your conscious mind, perhaps, which stays behind, astonished, but in your innermost awareness, awakeness, and knowledge. I read that last part again. Then everything will become easier for you, more coherent, and somehow more reconciling. Not in your conscious mind, perhaps, which stays behind, astonished, but in your innermost awareness, awakeness, and knowledge. So I'm aware of time, so I leave you perhaps with this question. What do I trust in? What do I have confidence in? So thank you for taking time to come and be with us. Thank you for your question and your practice. And I will be back in a month. Much love to you all. Bye-bye.